You know who storms the field? Kansas storms the field. Stay behind in the stands where you belong.
A panel of Louisiana sports experts giving you the hot takes all season long. MICHAEL CAUBLE, Matt Moscona, and SHEA DIXON. This is Sports Takeover.
Welcome in, everyone, to the finale of Sports Takeover, the regular season coming to a close this weekend. Matt Moscona of After Further Review, ESPN Radio, SHEA DIXON of On3.com, the Bengal Tiger, all your recruiting news, and MICHAEL CAUBLE here, chopping up a little LSU football once again here on a Tuesday evening. The Tigers once again victorious and once again doing it because of the excellent, I was going to say exceptional play of JAYDEN Daniels. Either way, it's right? 8 touchdowns accounted for on the night for JAYDEN. Maybe they left him in a little long, but why wouldn't you, right? When you get a chance to watch somebody that is smooth as he is, both on and off the field.
Even the bus driver got the love.
Right? I mean, like, none of us could pull off the turtleneck, I don't think. But maybe you, SHEA. I don't know.
I could.
You're pretty good.
It's a Boyz II Men look right there.
It's so hot.
Don't do that.
No? Okay. Well, it is time to say goodbye to the regular season as LSU gears up to take on Texas A&M, but not without a great showing and hopefully another one inside Tiger Stadium. As we said, JAYDEN accounting for 8 total touchdowns, throwing for 6, running for 2. Once again, fellas, it's just everything that he can do to wow us each weekend. And really, this weekend was a lot of fun because they got a lot of different players involved. Coach Brian Kelly talked about JAYDEN continuing to impress week after week.
Well, I think you guys are starting to see how assertive and decisive. I think that that's the word that I would use more than anything else, is decisiveness in throwing the football. When you're 25 for 30 throwing the football, the decisiveness and the decision-making has to be that way. His efficiency, the way he takes over the game, I mean, if you're on the other sideline, you just kind of, you know, how do you defend them? They tried to blitz them. That didn't work. They dropped 8 in the fourth quarter. They just said, all right, we're just going to drop 8. And that didn't work. We've seen virtually everything this year, from trap coverages to, you know, every kind of configuration, and it just hasn't worked.
It's exactly the Joe Burrow level of success that we saw in 2019, where teams were throwing anything in the kitchen sink at LSU to try to slow him down. And just like Joe Burrow, it's not working. Guys, what impressed you this week about JAYDEN? SHEA, we'll start with you.
Oh, man, where do you begin? I mean, he's doing the same thing every week in, week out, distancing himself. I think the reality that he has now for 2 weeks in a row been the only player in college football to be above 4,000 yards. He could well hit 5,000 yards against Texas A&M in 12 games. That's absolutely unbelievable. It's so far ahead of everyone else in this Heisman race that his ability to just continue to stack yards and make it look effortless is crazy to me.
Yeah, the smoothness of his game, Matt.
They played Georgia State.
Yeah.
They played Georgia State, and people still noticed. It's stunning. I mean, how do you do something that's literally never been done before in college football, which is throw for 350, run for 200, and come back the next week against Georgia State and actually one-up yourself? 8 touchdowns, only Joe Burrow's done that. In the history of the SEC, whatever.
It's otherworldly, yeah, no doubt about it. You know, you said it made people watch, and I think one of the big things that we had a chance to do finally was talk to some of his teammates about what makes JAYDEN so dynamic.
Nobody does what he do week to week. You know, he's tied Joe Burrow for his record with 8 touchdowns. Could have broke it, but we ain't put him back in. We ain't gonna speak on that. It's just tremendous what he comes out every week, you know, and breaks a record or set a record or do something crazy that everybody likes, like we like. So, you know, for him to have 3 receivers with a touchdown and over 100 yards, like, he's spreading the ball out, so it ain't like he's throwing it to just one person. Like, he's spreading it out. He's giving the running back the ball, tight ends the ball. He's giving everybody the ball. So, yeah, I feel like there's nobody better than him.
He's smart. Guy is very smart. Most people think he just want to run it, but he only going to run it if he have to. Like, he really wants to put the ball in the air, and he's an accurate thrower. He's a smart person. He's a fast quarterback, probably faster than a running back and some receivers. And I feel like him and those receivers, they have great chemistry. He gets up. He's a consistent worker, and when you have all that in one person, you usually have great turnout.
Yes, indeed you do, and nobody knows it better than Major Burns in that LSU secondary, having to face those receivers and Jayden in practice each week. And speaking of the Tiger receivers, another first, Matt, as you alluded to, LSU with 3 different receivers going for 100 yards each and a score. That has never been done. Now, that great dynamic duo of Terrence Marshall, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson did go all for 100 each, but not with a score. This Tiger receiving core is doing it and really doing it effortlessly. Maybe that's the thing that we talk about the most, right? Just how smooth they are. Malik Neighbors, 8 of 9 for 140 yards and 2 scores. Kyron Lacey, 5 of 5, a perfect target and catch reception for 101 and 2 scores. And Brian Thomas Jr., 4 for 4 with 103 and a touchdown. This receiving core is really developed into what we all hoped it could.
It was a plan going into the season that we were not going to be able to put him into the short field and utilize him in the manner that we needed to. We felt like if he stayed at the W position, he was going to get double zoned, he was going to get press coverage, he was not going to be allowed to get off the line of scrimmage. So kind of a plan that I've had always with my number 1 receivers, that we're going to move them around, stack them, get them into different looks. And you've got to be able to learn. The one thing Malik's done is he's learned all 3 positions. He knows the X, the Z, and the W. And if you want to catch a lot of balls and you want to get a lot of yards, you better learn all 3 positions. Because if you can't, you can't be as versatile. And so good for him. He's learned all 3, and it's really going to help him moving forward.
Malik, just the tip of the spear for LSU, but really the dynamic duo of him and Brian Thomas is something to watch. Now, yesterday, the Biletnikoff announced its semifinalists, and 2 Tigers were on that list. Brian Thomas on this list as well. Malik Neighbors, though, if you just look at the numbers, really leading the nation with some ridiculous stats, And again, Brian Thomas right there tied with Troy Franklin and Marvin Harrison with 13 touchdowns apiece. So he, too, while you might not have the yards, he's over 1,000 on the year. It's remarkable to see these guys. Fellas, let's talk about the receivers here. What has impressed you most, I guess, about the jump?
From Neighbors, remember last year we had 1,003 touchdowns? And this is an indication of what Jayden Daniels and this offense can do. I think that he could win the Biletnikoff. I think Harrison, everyone is freaking out about. Let's be real about one thing with Harrison. Ohio State's a great football team. They've already had to go to their second quarterback, and he still doesn't do too much for them. So, Marvin Harrison is carrying the team.
Yeah, Harrison's stats are more comparable to Brian Thomas's than they are Malik Neighbors.
Yes.
But the other thing I'll remind you about the Biletnikoff specifically is so many of these national awards, voters don't watch every game of every team. So a lot of it is name recognition. I'll remind you about Grant Delpit. Grant Delpit was the best defensive back in the country in 2018. He didn't win the Thorpe. He spent much of 2019 injured, and he still won the Thorpe because a lot of it was reputation. Similar, I think, happens this year with Marvin Harrison. Neighbors has been the best receiver in the country this year. He is worthy of it this year. Harrison's probably going to win it because...
So if this was Marvin Davis, he wouldn't win it.
No, absolutely. I agree.
I think the fact that his name is Marvin Harrison matters, but he's also been a great receiver for 3 years at Ohio State.
Yes.
He has built up a great career.
A career award as much as it is a season award. Coach Kelly was asked about Marvin Harrison being in the Heisman chatter, and he said, I think my guys are pretty good too.
Yeah, those are pretty lofty numbers, but I think you have to include, Brian Thomas's numbers, and Brian, I think, rivals Marvin Harrison's numbers right now, and he's in conversation for the Heisman. I think if you take both my receivers, those two in what they have done, could easily be in that conversation. So if Marvin Harris isn't in that conversation, I don't know why, both Brian and Malik wouldn't be in that conversation.
Certainly a great point made there, and to Matt's point, I think it is all about name recognition and what have you done for your entire career. It would have been great to see Brian Thomas get a little bit more pub for this. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Heisman. The odds shifting for Jayden. He's now the front runner. We'll chop it up after this.
Sports Takeover will return after these messages. Now, back to Sports Takeover.
Welcome back, everyone. Week after week, we see Jayden do remarkable things, and then the following Sunday and Monday, we see his Heisman odds kind of climb the ladder as well. Let's take a look at the latest numbers from DraftKings, where you see Jayden actually leapfrogging Bo Nix for the front runner, the best odds. Now, that means you have to bet You have to spend $120 to win $100, for those of you that don't bet. So Nix and Penix, they were leading Jayden the last couple of weeks, but things have definitely changed. And the interesting thing to me, guys, here is that the rest of the pack has really fallen off the map. Marvin Harrison went from like plus 450 to plus 4,000. Jalen Milroe went from plus 5,000 to plus 15,000. And Malik Neighbors actually finally jumped on the board at plus 50 grand. Coach Kelly, once again, pumping his man for the top honors in college football.
Because I truly think he's the best player in the country. I've been watching him, and I've watched the other players, and I think they're terrific players too. I really do. But what he's doing is so different in terms of what I've seen in my career, in terms of pushing the ball down the field, the accuracy in terms of dropping balls into tight coverages, running the football, and the, I would say, assertiveness in which he's throwing the football. These aren't screen passes. These aren't swing passes. These aren't cupcake throws. And not that anybody's making cupcake throws to put themselves, I'm not saying that, but all of his throws are vertical throws, and he's pushing the ball down the field, and his runs are not like, wow, where is everybody? He's making people miss. He's taking hits to run the football. Like, I think we can count on, and everybody's watched him, I think we can count on our hand the times he slid. He doesn't slide. I mean, he shows toughness, and that guy's a football player, and he's playing the game of football at a level that I have never seen before.
That's pretty incredible stuff when you think about 40 years of coaching that Brian Kelly's talking about right there.
Well, he's not been in the Southeastern Conference,
That's true.
so that's a reason. We had this same thing 5 years ago when Joe Burrow would never slide. You remember right when he got into the NFL, there was like the mic'd ups with the officials who were like, look, man, you're going to need to slide like every now and then. Jayden's built from that same cloth. I think that it's just who they are.
Matt, no way this thing doesn't go down to the wire, though, as far as the Heisman race. And unlike Joe's, I think, candidacy, I think, you know, we all felt like Joe has really had this thing locked up when he went to New York. I feel like this one's got some legs to it.
This may be one of those where we actually go to New York not knowing who the winner is going to be. The one thing that could, if you're looking for a case scenario, like if LSU were to somehow slip up and lose to Texas A&M, then it's over. But I think we all anticipate LSU playing really well and Jayden putting up great numbers and the Tigers winning that game. If they do that, and Bo Nix falters, like they got Oregon State this week, and Oregon State just held Michael Penix under 170 yards passing. He's the nation's passing leader right now. It's a tough Oregon State defense. The game is in Eugene, so probably favors Oregon, but I think LSU fans need to be big fans of the Oregon State Beavers this weekend.
No doubt about it. This weekend and potentially next, I believe, as well, because there could be.
Well, you could see Washington-Oregon rematch.
Matchup, no doubt about it. So be sure to get out your TV listings and find out who to root for. Jeff, something?
Yeah, maybe we should dig into this, but I had heard Joe won by the largest margin in history, but that a lot of voters turn in their ballots before championship weekend, which would mean that they're not weighing in what happens in that Pac-12 championship game, that they're more so taking the 12 games that everybody gets.
So I think this, I'm a Heisman voter, and I think this is something that actually hurts Jayden, is technology has advanced to the point now where you can wait to the last minute. Now, they will blow up your phone if you haven't voted that Monday after championship weekend. But I think because now it's all online, it used to be paper ballots. I think now because it's all online, people can wait, watch those championship games, and then make their decisions. To your point, Shay, I think that hurts Jayden Daniels. One of the references that a lot of the radio guys here in town have used is player in the clubhouse. Jayden's got the player in the clubhouse lead. Who am I going to vote for? I think that's pretty obvious. When we come back, we're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. When we come back, we're talking about what we're thankful for on this holiday week.
Sports Takeover will return after these messages. Now, back to Sports Takeover.
Yeah, I'm just thankful for, the opportunity to, be with my guys and develop them, in all facets. I mean, it's been fun watching this team grow. I mean, we've had our ups and downs. I mean, it's not been easy, but just watching the guys grow and overcome some adversity in some tough times and watching them, get better. It's been fun, and I'm thankful for that.
Coach Brian Kelly giving thanks this Thanksgiving week. I asked him what he was thankful for. He gave a pretty stock answer. I would have liked to know what he's really thankful for, though. Maybe that Tesla these guys.
He also said he likes cranberry dressing.
Oh, gross.
He's from cranberry dressing's great.
Oh, get out. Take that
worst thing.
gelatinous blob off my table.
No, you're eating it wrong. That's the point Kelly was
Get outta
making.
here.
You got to have real whole cranberry
get
in there.
BK can invite me over for
Chopped
Thanksgiving
up.
because I'll eat none of your cranberries, and then it'll be all for you, and then we can just hang out.
Well, while we're talking about Thanksgiving, let's keep it football-centric, but what are you fellas thankful for about this LSU football team? I'll give you a minute to think about it. I'm going to lead off. I'll say Brian Thomas and the emergence of his game. It's something that we all saw last year, a chance for Brian Thomas to be the player that he can and has been this year. Thomas has really broken out of his shell, over 1,000 yards receiving and leading the nation, tied for the lead with 13 touchdowns. I think the emergence of Brian Thomas, of course, coupled with the other great receivers that LSU had, is one of the things that I'm most thankful for about this year's LSU football team. So, Matt, we'll start with you. What are you thankful for about the Tigers?
I feel like we probably should give an ode to Greg Brooks, say that hopefully thankful that his recovery is going well. Specifically on the field, the offensive line. They were atrocious for 8 games a year ago. They got better as the season went along. Imagine what this offense would look like if you didn't have this dominant offensive line that's given Jayden Daniels time to throw. It's probably one of the sort of hidden blessings in this team because we focus so much on the skill guys. The line deserves a lot of credit.
Great point. Shay?
I mean, y'all didn't choose him, so I'll choose Jayden Daniels. I'm thankful that every Saturday when we go to the press box and we see shootouts of whatever variety, that it's must-watch TV. It is every single week because of what he can do for a football team. So remember, they went from burning his locker room up at Arizona State to now thankful that he's got a locker room that is free of any ash and could hold some trophies in it.
Did they really burn it?
You'll
I
have to
thought
tell
they
me
just
that story. I
destroyed
don't
it.
know that one. Yeah,
Oh,
what
his
is that?
teammates at Arizona
What?
State trashed his locker.
Yeah,
When
they
he
were lighting
transferred,
it all on fire and
Oh, I
throwing all
didn't
of his
know
stuff
that.
out.
One
Oh,
of
yeah.
them was Trevez Moore, who transferred from LSU.
One thing Ohio State tries to claim Joe Burrow, Arizona State will not be trying to
No.
claim Jayden Daniels after how that unfolded.
You know, one of the things that I wondered, with it being Thanksgiving week, does that hinder LSU's preparation for this game? It's kind of a start-stop situation where you'll take a break on Thursday, obviously, for Thanksgiving. So I asked Coach Kelly, what does this work week look like for his football team?
We had our big meal Sunday, as a team, and then we'll get them in and out of here pretty early by noontime and let them, for those that are close enough to get home, to be with families. For those that don't, the coaches will take in the remaining players.
Yeah, I guess just your past history. Is this week any different in your preparation? Do you have to do more early to make sure it holds, or is it really hard on the?
Well, classes end on Wednesday at 12:30, so we'll have plenty of time with our team. It's an early start, so you're changing your routine up a little bit. We'll get to the hotel a little bit earlier on Friday to make sure that we finish up a little bit earlier Friday night because we'll have an early morning on Saturday.
Oh, yes, indeed. One of the things we're not thankful for, that 11 a.m. kickoff against Texas A&M inside Tiger Stadium. Matt Moscona is going to bounce. Hey, I want to thank you for joining us all season long. Of course, you can catch Matt every afternoon, 3 to 6 on After Further Review. Yes, sir?
It's the end of the road.
Oh, for you. I'm not going to
Boys to
sing.
Men
I'm not
road.
gonna-
Boys
yeah, I
to Men
got it,
road.
I got it. I'm not singing a second time. All right,
Motown
thanks.
Philly?
Thanks, Matt. Back again. All right, that one you got me right. A little East Coast swing. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely old enough for Boys to Men, right in the wheelhouse. Shea Dixon, stick around because we're talking recruiting after the break.
Sports Takeover will return after these messages. Now, back to Sports Takeover.
Well, Shea, thanks for sticking around, unlike that Matt Moscona who had
Got rid of dead weight.
Yeah,
We're good.
exactly. Shows instantly better. Let's talk a little recruiting because things are about ready to heat up
They
for
are.
Brian Kelly and his coaching staff. BK always recruiting at the games. And here he is speaking
Joe
with
Sloan?
Joe Sloan, yeah, speaking with
It's Elijah Havens,
Dunham
Dunham's freshman quarterback. That's
Man.
the next big quarterback out of Louisiana.
Yeah, and he is what, 2026?
He's a
down-
freshman, and
Yeah.
he's very big. You can see he's like 6'4.5", 6'5".
He
So
is. Yeah, and he has got a live arm and can run. He's a lot like Jayden in some regards at the high school level. So
J.R. Belton there, and that's Elijah Havens' father. So yeah, everyone already pushing for the next great quarterback in Baton Rouge.
tell me about LSU's calendar here, if you will, and things about to ramp up after this A&M game.
Yeah, so they don't play in the conference championship game, so you can go straight into recruiting. That lasts all the way up until the dead period, which I believe is December 18th range. And then signing day is those 3 days, that next kind of Monday to Wednesday or Wednesday to Friday, I guess it is. So from now until right before Christmas, it is nothing but recruiting.
Brian Kelly talked a lot about just, really building this heavy with the high schoolers this year, feeling a little bit more
Yeah,
stability.
he's done it. Yeah, they have 25 commits right now. I bet they finished with, 27, 28. I had heard early on they wanted to be between 25 and 30. Okay. So right on track. And then if you do the math, as Brian Kelly said all offseason, and now it's lined up that way, that means taking fewer than 10 transfers, which is the goal.
And it feels like he's trying to be a little bit more selective as well. He talks about replacing quality with quality.
Well, he wants to replace some Malik Neighbors with a Malik Neighbors.
Right.
That's tough to do. But if you can come close to it, then yes. And I think the important part or piece to what he was saying there is that as you shrink, look, before you were taking 15 transfers, 18 transfers, you can miss on a couple. Yeah. It's no big deal. But if you're only taking 6 or 7 or whatever that number might be, it's not depth pieces. It's guys that are coming in that you're going to hit on and that you feel very good about. So.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you and what the latest, I guess, when you really crank up here.
Yeah, well, we crank up every single day.
Every day.
We're rocking it every day. But look, it's a busy stretch coming up. Keelan Moses commits November 30th out of U High. That'll be a big one to watch for. Harlem Berry, the #1 running back in the country, out of New Orleans, commits in December. We've got signing day coming up. So the Bengal Tiger and On 3 is the place to be right now. We are very, very busy.
Let's sneak one in on here. What does A&M's head coaching job do opening up as far as guys that might be looking at LSU now?
I think, look, LSU already flipped Weston Davis. He's a 5-star offensive tackle. Their offensive line recruiting the past 3 years, or cycles, with Kelly and Davis has been unbelievable. So that was a major win. Do we see any more defections come? Everyone's watching Gabe Relaford, Dominic McKinley, 2 Louisiana guys at D-line who are committed to A&M. I think 2 things are important here. The timing of A&M's hire of a head coach, and then the D-line coach Elijah Robinson, who has 2 Louisiana defensive linemen committed. Does he stay there? Is he still on staff? Does that help them out in that regard? But look, the portal opens, and it's already open for any team that's had their head coach fired. Kids can get in the portal, but the portal opens here soon. That's going to be the wild, wild west.
Shay will have all the news for you right there, as he said, on the Bengal Tiger. Hey, thanks for joining us this season on Sports Takeover. We'll have a Heisman special coming up from New York as well, so stick around for more LSU football action in the coming days.